Empowered people make informed decisions that lead to living a life without regret. This is Sara Khaki and Shawna Woods from Atlanta Divorce Law Group, and this is the Happily Ever After Divorce Podcast. Welcome to the Happily Ever After Divorce Podcast. I'm Sara Khaki with Atlanta Divorce Law Group, and I'm joined by our very own managing partner, Shawna Woods. Today's topic is about taking your pain, the pain of what you're going through, and turning it into your power. I am going to quote my mindset coach that I've worked with for many years and who's definitely has helped my mindset through some of the most painful moments or challenging moments of my life, David Nagel. And he's the author of the Millions Within, and also he has his own podcast called the Successful Mind Podcast. Very, very enlightening, incredible material and content to listen to. But David once on a group call with a number of other people like myself who were hungry for growth, hungry for better understanding themselves and their situation and what to do with all of it. This lady on the call was explaining to him this very tragic experience she was going through. And he said to her, "Your most painful moment is also your most powerful moment." And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It put so many of my life moments where I felt weak, I felt helpless, I felt just alone into complete perspective, and made me realize how much power had been derived from those moments. Shawna, I know you can relate to this so brilliantly so many times in your life. And a lot of times we see it years after the fact, after we've gone through the pain, after we've gone through the struggle, and we've overcome it and maybe been able to produce some sort of results in our lives or some sort of peace in our lives or a different state of mind in our lives. And we're able to maybe reflect back either through therapy, through a friend, or some sort of a coaching, where we're able to put the pieces together and like, oh yeah, that moment shaped this in me, or that moment created this within me. But wouldn't it be incredible while you are in the midst of it, when you're in deep into the trenches of that pain, if you were actually able to see that, if somebody was actually able to tell you, man, I know you're going through so much pain right now, but there is so much power available to you right now.
Yeah, I think that turning pain into power is one thing, and turning pain into a superpower is another thing. And
You would know a thing or two about that.
Well, I say that because you came across so eloquently talking about your mindset coach, and I'm going to talk about Stephen Colbert. And there was a moment on Stephen Colbert where they were talking about this very subject, about the most painful things in your life, the ones that hurt the most, the ones that still make you kind of tear up when you really think about them, as gifts, and that you're grateful for them. And I saw this conversation unfold, and I don't know what happened to the talk show host, Stephen Colbert, but you could tell the look on his face when the person asked him, are you able to say that about the most painful experience in your life? You could see that he felt deep in his soul this pain, that he really didn't want to say it, but he had to say it because he believed it. Yes, I'm grateful. Right? Because it is those most painful moments that turn us into who we are, that turn us into the person, if you are able to push past it and see past it and not stay in your pain, not stay in that victim pain, right? And if you take it and you turn it and you twist it, it can become your superpower. And I've got a lot of examples that I could give from my own life. I know Sara has a lot of examples she can give to her own life, but one of the examples that I will give is that being raised by a woman who was an unmedicated person who was suffering from bipolar back when we didn't even know what bipolar was, turned into a superpower for me. it turned into something that I use on a daily basis, not only just to relate to somebody who may be going through these issues, but because it really made me a very intuitive person of
Right,
all these situations around me. It made me able to switch from one thing to another and still keep myself steady, right? Because that's what
right.
I had to do. She wasn't the steady one. I had to keep myself the steady one. So, giving that example, that was something that happened, and there's a lot of painful experiences
Well,
in that.
Shauna, one of the
But
superpowers we've always discussed about you, and we talked about this in one of the episodes in the past about growing up with parents with mental health challenges.
yeah,
And we were able to really see that what you grew up with your mom and her health condition has given you the superpower that you're able to walk into any room, any setting, including a courtroom, including a cold conference room with the opposing side in front of you, and you can read everything. You can read all the unsaid. You can read what's safe for your client, what's not safe for your client. Where is this going to lead? Where are the pitfalls? And you have this incredible ability to read energy and read possible outcomes in a room. And you've used that superpower to help so many people.
and so that's what we want for our clients. That's what we want for the people that are listening to the podcast, is not to think, oh, well, Sarah and Shauna are just the strongest people in the world. We
No.
had help getting here, right? We all feel this pain, and sometimes those pains come back so deep and so hard that you have to remind myself, I got a gift in that pain. How do I turn around and how do I turn that into a superpower? And Sarah, how did you turn your pain into a superpower?
So, I have people always talk about my ability to influence people.
Hmm.
And it comes from various places in my life. First of all, you know, when Iran went into war as a young kid, we took refuge in Sweden and growing up in a small village in Sweden, looking very different than the Swedish community I was growing up in. Um, I relied on a lot of EQ. I relied on a lot of personal skills and able to break through the fact that I looked so different, because we were one of the first immigrant families that came into that community. And my family was very set on assimilating in the Swedish community and not holding on to our own. So we were very, very deeply involved in the Swedish community. And in order to sort of break down those barriers and live like a Swedish kid in Sweden, looking very different, it required me being comfortable with myself and being comfortable using my influential powers. And it happened again, obviously when we moved to the United States as a teenager, completely on my own, having to figure out how to go to school here, speaking very little English. I had to rely on that. But more than that, I had to help my parents out because they didn't speak much English. So I was a, 13, 14-year old, negotiating mortgages for my parents and helping them buy cars and make big decisions for our lives. And that required being able to rely on powers of influence and ability to have EQ. And again, like you, a little bit of reading the room and reading the energy. But more than anything, I think the biggest superpower we can all tap into beyond sort of like the gifts of our personality, because I think the gifts of our personality are like a diamond that come to shape when it goes under pressure. And it goes and pressure, it comes from that pain, right? From the growing pains. And those are just the natural given gift of our personality that I think our destiny shapes it with the pain points we go through life and we can turn them into power. But they all really come from moments when you really learn to rely on yourself and you learn that you can trust yourself and you build your self-confidence. I mean, everything you had to overcome gave you so much self-confidence in order to use your personal gift to turn your personal gift into a superpower. And same here, whatever personal gifts I have that are unique to me, they were shaped in times of pain, um, but the underlying thing that really boosted them is that overcoming it over and over again just strengthened my self confidence. Because, there's moment in my life. My mom was diagnosed. I was 12 years old with terminal cancer, and I had to overcome that. But you did, and people always say about people like you and I, Shawna, that don't know us that well, they're so strong. And I wonder what they mean by that. I wonder if I wonder if they what strength to them means that we don't feel pain, that we don't process pain, that we don't get our feelings hurt, or we don't have moments of absolute anguish of what do I do, an absolute loss, because we
Yes.
feel all of that. We feel,
Yes.
and if anything, if you don't fully go through that dark place and allow yourself to feel that dark place where you feel alone, you feel at a loss, you don't have any answers, you feel so weak, you feel so little, you might feel seen and you might feel vulnerable, and you don't fully go into that dark place and let yourself fear that, you actually will not get the gift of power, because you have to be able to go there and not avoid it and feel it and allow yourself to breathe in that space for a minute and process it and then overcome that emotion to let the power gain its strength. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're avoiding and you're shoving something down, and you will continue. You'll have something nagging at you, and you'll mask it with this superficial, not true confidence, but this sort of like fake it till you make it thing that is superficial and not real and can easily be burst. And you'll never truly get the gift that you just mentioned.
Yeah, there's so much that you said and so many good things to unpack there. And I want to point out one thing that you said. It just stuck you really stuck with me. And you're talking about when you're 13, 14 years old or 12 or 13 and you're negotiating contracts for your parents. And some parents are out there thinking, oh gosh, how horrible. And the fact of the matter is, that's what made you the badass lawyer that you are today, is that you had this training early on. And not that this one is about children, but I do want to point this out of overprotecting your children from their pain points means they're not growing. It means you're
Exactly.
stagnating them. And so switching to the other parts that I
No, but
think,
it's a very important, because I think that your this is a full circle conversation that you're making here is great. You're getting the power out of your pain. Are you allowing the same for those around you?
exactly. And, and again, to your point, when people say you're so strong, absolutely. But that is because of the diamond you were talking about, because we allowed ourselves to feel that pressure. Now, that doesn't mean every day, all day, I get up and I'm like, I'm Superwoman, let's go.
Right.
There are days when I'm like, today I get to wallow. This is my day. I'm feeling it really bad. I will allow this is the one day I will wallow. And then tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to wipe it off. You get to have feelings. You don't have to push your feelings away. You don't have to forget the person who gave that pain to you. You don't have to do that, right?
Right.
Some people believe you need to, some people believe you don't. To make it your superpower, you don't have to say, oh, that person, and understand it from their point of view. The gift that you have as a pain point is what you do with it, is how you grow with it. It's how you change the world with what you had to go through. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to learn the lesson of that pain, and it's going to remain with you continuously.
Absolutely. And let's talk about, you kind of already acknowledged it, ways you can actually exercise this. And I think that for anybody that expects this to to turn their pain into power, meaning immediately you're not processing sadness, you're not processing anger, you're not processing the feeling of defeat or just mourning something lost, then then you're not giving it power, because there's actually power in all of that too. There is power in pain, there is power in mourning something you've lost, there is power in feeling defeated, because to Shauna's point, what you do with that pain afterwards is what turns it into strength. But if you don't let yourself feel it, then you're not even shifting the energy. I mean, to get a little bit scientific, the law of conservation of energy, it says energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes its form. It changes its shape. So you actually, by not avoiding your pain, by not avoiding your loss and feeling it and letting yourself feel it, you can transform it. As the law of conservation of energy says, you can transform that energy then to strength. But if you don't allow yourself to actually feel that energy and take it in, you'll never even be able to transform it. So you can't avoid it. So that's step one.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to feel what it is you need to feel, because once you've sat with that and you've given yourself due space to feel it, then you can transform it.
Uh-huh.
And how do you transform it? Is by asking yourself some really good questions, right? So fear is going to want to take over if you let it. And that's when you can ask yourself really good questions to not let fear play a part. What is really true here? What do I really want the story to end up like, right? The pain and the loss does not need to be the end of the story. What do you want this to end up as? Decide what the future is going to look like, and then let this be a chapter in that future. You can make that decision. And that's how you shift this from pain,
Uh-huh.
anger, loss into transformed energy that gives you momentum towards the future you want to turn from this from. It could be from, this will be the day that will be recognized as the moment I learned how to trust my gut again. This will be the day when I realize that I can rely on myself again. This will be the day that I decided that I was no longer going to tolerate X, Y, and Z anymore. This will be when I write the chapter in my life, when I write the book of my life, this chapter will be the chapter when the readers will learn I decided to no longer tolerate X, Y, and Z for myself. That's the vision you need to start creating once you're ready to get past the pain, the anger, the loss, and transform it into energy for your future. Then make that statement for yourself. I mean, truly, as cheesy as it sounds, make that statement for yourself.
It's so important to make that statement for yourself. And you said something there, I picked up on it. I want to circle back to it, as we often do. You said fear of the pain. And the people who do not work through their pain and do not turn it into a power and do not see it as a good thing, they stay in that fear of pain. And what happens when you stay in fear of pain is you make poor choices because
Yes.
you're afraid,
And
right?
you're avoiding it.
You're avoiding it. There's so many people who stay in bad marriages, right? Out of fear. They are
Yes.
afraid to go through the pain, or they are afraid to face whatever, pain points they had in the past. Perhaps they weren't financially stable in the past, and they're afraid of experiencing that pain again. And when you take that fear away, your life blooms. Your life blossoms because now you're making choices based on the fact of, if I had no fear, this is what I'd want. This is what I do. And that's how you turn it around and you make this, to your point, I always use gardenings. You make this really bloom. You grow your own garden. And it's one of those things that you have to do is make your personal and brain development a priority.
Well,
Just like
yes.
you make everything else a priority. Paying bills is a priority. Yep, gotta go to work. What do you have to do to work well? What do you have to do to produce well? You have to be in that good mind space. If you're giving half of you to everything that you think you need to do, that's a disservice to them and you. What they say about the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first, people. And this is really important. I'm joking around a little bit here because we do kind of, when we get to that point of turning our pain into power, we're able to make fun of it. We're able to poke fun of it and kind of turn it into, okay, I'm good with this now.
Because you've taken the fear out of the dark and you brought it
Yes.
into the light. And
Yes.
it can't no longer, the fear can no longer grow in the light. Fear only grows in the dark. So once you bring it into the light, it starts shrinking. It actually starts shrinking in size because you start seeing it for the reality that it is. And you see all the lies that lies in it, and the things that you breathe it into it that's not even true, but it breathes in the dark. It cannot breathe in the light. And one thing you mentioned about um, letting yourself have the fear and then moving past it, a really simple technique to do is ask yourself, I'm curious, when all this is done and said and done, 5 years from now, maybe 5 months from now, maybe 5 weeks from now, what will be the end result of this moment? And if you get curious about it and you start imagining, what would I want the end result of this to be? How do I want this to be a chapter in the book, not the whole book? What does that look like? Guess what, Shawna? Curiosity and fear cannot live together. They cannot coexist. I learned this from a book called the Psychocybernetics, the new Psychocybernetics. I forget the name of the author, but it's a psychiatrist. But it's a great book. It talks a lot about autosuggestion for your brain. Autosuggestion basically is when you plant seeds for your mind and then you train the mind to go after it just by planting those seeds. So the simple seed of, this day will now be remembered as the day that I no longer do X, Y, and Z. And you keep stating that sentence and you say it with emotion. You transform that anger. You transform the pain. You transform the loss into this like excited energy that this will be the day from here on out that I no longer tolerate people who want to abuse me, right? You say it like that.
Mhm.
It actually auto suggests in your mind, and you will, everything else in your body, everything around you, your energy, your behavior, your day to day will actually repeat that sentence. And then you will actually go into action and do that. So that's what the whole power of autosuggestion does. And you can really take your most painful moment and autosuggest it into a powerful moment just by starting with, what do I want this to look like in the chapter in the bigger book? And that
Yes.
curiosity kills the fear because it brings it into light, and then it can coexist with curiosity. Like from a psychiatrist, neurological perspective, they've proven that you cannot be fearful and curious at the same time. I think that's a great way to overcome it when you're ready to transform it.
I love that. I love that saying. That reminded me of somebody telling me once that you cannot be depressed and be dancing at the same time. So choose which one you want to be. And
That's a
I
good
love
one.
it's a great one, isn't it? And what Sarah is talking about is really taking that pain and you decide what you want to do with it. You determine how this pain's going to affect you. You determine it. This it's not about what or who gave you that pain. It's about what you choose to do with it and how you choose to make that work for you. And real quick, I just want to leave with this one example because it was funny. I thought about something that I did recently, and I had a little gut punch on something, and I did until I thought about it. I couldn't remember what the pain point was. It was a couple of weeks ago, and I had to really think about what was that pain point because something else happened that day. And my brother had reached out to me and he had met this new person and he's very excited about the relationship. And he said this wonderful thing. He said, she's so much like you. And I remember I turned around and our Nicole here at the office and I texted her. I said, so this just happened. And now today isn't about that other thing. Today's about this thing. And the truth of the matter is, folks, I really had to deep dig in my brain to go, what was that other thing? Right? So
Wow.
it's about how you choose to live your days and what you choose to allow that affect you. And if you allow it to affect you, how are you going to turn it and use it for your benefit?
I love it. Thank you, Shawna.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks for listening to the Happily Ever After Divorce podcast. If you'd like to learn more, go to atlantadivorcelawgroup.com/resources.